What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another fantasy football video. And in this video, I'm going to give you my top 10 fantasy football players of the 2019 season ranked. I'm going to give you my analysis on each and every player and how you can mentally break down your rankings in your top 10 into tiers and how you can separate them when you're determining who to draft at rather the running back or the wide receiver position. Before I get into my top 10 list, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more fantasy football tips and tricks videos just like this. Let's start off with the number one selection. So if you have the first overall selection in fantasy football drafts, I've made a totally different video about this, so go check out that video if you want a more in-depth analysis on this selection. But for me, the guy that I'm going with more times than not at number one is going to be Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. Saquon Barkley, he is an all-time level talent, whether that's as a runner or as a receiver. It didn't seem to matter in 2018 whether his offensive line stunk, whether his quarterback play stunk. Saquon Barkley is just going to be able to elevate his game to a different level than any other running back or maybe even skill player in the entire NFL. He's just on a different level physically. He's the number one option in both the run game for the Giants and the pass game for the Giants. I could see a possible second-year jump for Saquon Barkley as well, as he doesn't have to really deal with the long season grind of the rookie season. So Saquon Barkley is a sure bet as the number one pick in fantasy drafts this season. With the number two overall pick this year in fantasy football, I'm going with Ezekiel Elliott. He finished fifth overall for the running back position in 2018. This season, I think Zeke's going to elevate his game. Of course, this is probably the safest pick in fantasy football year in and year out. He gets so many carries, so many touches. He's the centerpiece of the Dallas Cowboys offense. You have to think about how he's going to elevate his game, because Kellen Moore is going to be the new offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys, which I think he's going to bring along a more creative offense. I think Zeke's going to be more involved in terms of a receiver, where the other runners have kind of had the notch above him in terms of that category. When you're talking about Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, these running backs have been allowed to have more opportunities as a receiver. I think that's going to change this season. I think Zeke's going to be more involved in that facet of the game. You also look at him being safe in terms of they're a really good team. I think the Cowboys are going to be a playoff team this year. That means a lot of touchdowns for Zeke. That means a lot of games where he's heavily involved in the fourth quarter trying to grind out the clock. Yeah, he doesn't get as many receptions as the other guys, but in a standard league, I would argue that you would pick Zeke first overall. So Zeke is about as safe as they come in my number two overall selection. At number three, Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the ultimate combination of a receiving running back and just a pure runner. Christian McCaffrey proved the world wrong when they said that he couldn't carry the load of a true number one running back last season in 2018. Because not only did he carry the load for the Carolina Panthers, but he carried the load more than any other running back in the entire NFL. He was 91% of the snaps for Carolina, which was more than any other running back by quite a wide margin. I think the next was 83%. So Christian McCaffrey, he's on the football field more than any other running back in pro football. If Cam Newton is healthy for an entire season, you could see McCaffrey even play better than he did last season. McCaffrey, the receiving, he has a great floor because of those receptions. He scores a lot of touchdowns, but he could score even more in 2019 if the Carolina Panthers are even better than they were at the start of last season, where they were on that run. They slowed down because of Cam Newton's injury. But going forward into 2019, I see the Panthers as a solid team and McCaffrey maintaining his pace as a great top-notch fantasy running back in 2019. At number four, Alvin Kamara. This kind of ends one tier for me. The top four running backs is my first tier, no doubt about it, 1 through 4. These four guys should be going every single time. Alvin Kamara is just like Christian McCaffrey in the way that he is a great receiver, but also a great runner. The thing that separates McCaffrey and Kamara for me is we've never seen Alvin Kamara really take that amount of a workload in terms of as a runner, because Mark Ingram has been there for so long and he's been a workhorse as well alongside Alvin Kamara, and he's really been able to take some of the pressure off the shoulders of Alvin Kamara. But Kamara has proven that when he is by himself, he can be an absolute monster. Now, the Saints offense is probably the best out of these top 4 running backs, and he is matchup proof because of what Sean Payton can do schematically with Alvin Kamara. No matter if they're losing by a lot, he's still going to get the football. If they're winning by a lot, he's still going to get the football. So whether it's a receiving game, whether it's a running game, it doesn't really matter. Alvin Kamara is going to put up his fantasy points. There's no more Mark Ingram, but the reason why he's here at number 4 is because he does have the best backup still of any of these running backs, with Latavius Murray coming in from the Minnesota Vikings. Latavius Murray is a solid running back, and he will take some touches away from Alvin Kamara. So that's why he's at number 4, but I could see a huge workload increase in 2019, which has me really pumped up to see Alvin Kamara in 2019. At number 5, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon finished 8th overall for the running back position last season, but he only played 12 games, and he was on pace in those 12 games to be right alongside Todd Gurley as the best fantasy running back of 2018. And everybody seems to forget that. Melvin Gordon, to me, at number 5, is in a tier by himself because he has the workload and the carries and the opportunity like the top 4 guys, even more so than Alvin Kamara, but he doesn't stay healthy. He has really never stayed healthy. He's had one season of 16 games. The others, he's around 12-ish games, and that's perfect for me at the number 5 spot because Melvin Gordon is going to have at least 12 games where he's dominant. He's arguably the best fantasy running back in football. Now, if he does stay healthy, I could easily see him finish in the top 3. So that's why he's at number 5 here, because he's a guy that has the workload, has the talent to be an elite tier running back, but he doesn't really stay healthy. He's not really consistent enough to be in that tier. So he's right underneath them. At number 6, which starts another new tier for me, DeAndre Hopkins, the number 1 receiver on my board. DeAndre Hopkins, he has a extremely awesome connection with quarterback Deshaun Watson, and Watson will just chuck the ball up to him on 3rd down. It doesn't really matter. DeAndre Hopkins, he has that massive target share. That's nearly 30% of the Texans' receptions, which is absolutely incredible because we've seen Will Fuller, he can't stay healthy or on the field. Kiki Kote is a promising receiver, but hasn't really proven anything. DeAndre Hopkins is the elite receiver that's really by himself in terms of a target share, in terms of a receiving option. Every other elite receiver in the NFL really has another option receiving wise that takes away targets, takes away receptions from him, takes away touchdowns from him. But with DeAndre Hopkins, he's the clear-cut number 1. He's the clear-cut guy that they go to in all situations. Their offense is really, he is the go-to guy in every situation. 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, red zone. It doesn't matter. He's been a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football 3 of the last 4 years. He never busts, which is the thing that separates an elite receiver and the number 1 receiver in fantasy football from a guy that's around number 6 or number 7. At number 7 overall is David Johnson. And I know David Johnson didn't have the greatest 2018 season, but he still finished 9th overall for the running back position, which is absolutely insane considering he had such an ineffective year. He wasn't efficient at all, but he does have, which I'm hoping will be awesome for him, a new offense, a new quarterback, and a new coach, which is huge. I don't think anybody on his whole starting offensive line was actually there for 16 games. He's going to have his offensive line back. He has a new quarterback who's a threat to run, which we know those quarterbacks that are a threat to run impact the running game in general because it makes defenses pay attention to the quarterback, and the running back can benefit off of that with play action boot game, with the stretch runs, all that sort of stuff that they can do. Cliff Kingsbury, he is known for targeting the running back. In NCAA football, in college football, he was in the top 4 basically every season for targeting the running back position. David Johnson is arguably the best receiver as a running back. This is a guy that's gone for 2,000 yards before in his career. I can't overstate how the impact of Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, what it's going to do to David Johnson's game and how it's going to help him as a player. Even if the Cardinals are terrible, David Johnson's floor is so high because he is such a great receiver. And even in games where he's not going to put up huge rushing totals, he's still going to give you 6 or 7 catches a game. At number 8, starting another new tier, is Davante Adams, my number 2 wide receiver from the Green Bay Packers. Now, let's just start with this. He has Aaron Rodgers, and every single wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver that has Aaron Rodgers, goes for over 10 touchdowns. It's basically a proven fact at this point. Davante Adams has had 3 straight seasons of 10-plus touchdowns, including a breakout season last year where he had, for the first time ever, over 100 receptions, over, I believe, 1,000 yards for the first time in his career as well, and 13 touchdowns. And Aaron Rodgers, the thing about his season last year is he didn't even throw a lot of touchdowns. I think he threw 25 or 26 touchdowns last year. Aaron Rodgers is typically a guy that's at least around 35, and I think he'll be back there this season, which means we may have not even seen the greatness, the best of Davante Adams. He's grown so much as a receiver, as a route runner in terms of getting off the line of scrimmage. His release off the line of scrimmage is one of the best in the game. He's so great in the red zone, and he has a great connection with Aaron Rodgers. The Packers offense should be better this year. The Packers as a team should be better this year, and I expect Davante Adams, in the prime of his career, to have another great season at number 8. At number 9, Le'Veon Bell, which a lot of people are skeptical about Le'Veon Bell and what he's going to do within the Jets organization and on the Jets offense. But I promise you, they did not sign him to all this money to not give him the football. Le'Veon Bell's usage is going to be amongst the elite running backs in the NFL. He's proven that he can do it, he can handle it, and I think he will in 2019. He's one of the best receivers. He's one of the best route runners in the running back position, and he has extremely great vision, which separates him as a running back. In his prime of his career a couple seasons ago, he was the best running back in football, and I would not be shocked if Le'Veon Bell was the number 1 fantasy running back this season. That's why he's here at number 9. You know, people have him a little bit lower sometimes. People may have him a little bit higher. But to me, there is risk with Le'Veon Bell because he hasn't played in a whole season. But there is also the potential of Le'Veon Bell being the best player in fantasy. So you have to weigh that out, and that's why I have him here at number 9. At number 10, and closing off the list here, and my bottom tier in the first round, is Julio Jones. Julio Jones may not be a sexy name at this point. He may have name fatigue in terms of fantasy football, but he's one of the best receivers, I think, in the history of football. He's had 3 of the last 4 years where he's had the most yards per game in football. He's led the league in receiving yards, I think the past 2 years in a row. Yes, he's not exactly sexy anymore in terms of a name, but you know what you're going to get from Julio Jones. You know that he's going to go out there, he's going to put up 100 yards, and if you get some touchdowns out of him like the last season, at the end of last season, then that's going to be even better for you. But he's just a constant force. He has the best connection with any quarterback in the league, with him and Matt Ryan. And there's nothing else to really be said. I also believe that the Atlanta Falcons will have the best offense in football this year, potentially. So if they do, you better believe that Julio Jones will have a great season. Those are my top 10 fantasy football players of the 2019 season. If you enjoyed, Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL. It's Mitch. Comment below your opinion, and make sure you subscribe for more fantasy football. Peace out.